Are all religions different paths to the same God?
So I'm assuming that this question is prompted by the remarks of Pope Francis when he was in Singapore, which got a lot of traction online, needless to say. And so it's going to depend upon what we mean by different paths. Okay. So if different paths means they're all equal paths to get to God and no one is better than the other, well, then this would be at odds with Jesus' teaching and the infallible teaching of the church. Jesus is very clear, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. So if we're going to go and say that religions are equal paths and they're all the same and there's no difference, well, then that's just going to directly contradict Jesus, okay? And the infallible teaching of the church, which the church has said, the fullness of the truth and the life that Jesus came to give us subsists in the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church is established by Jesus Christ, and there is no salvation apart from the church. That is to say, anyone who is saved is going to be saved insofar as they are united to the church, at least in an invisible way, if not responsible for their lack of visible unity, okay? Now, if by different paths, and this leads us to the second interpretation, if by different paths we mean each religion is an expression of man's attempt to relate to God, each religion is sort of this path in virtue of which man is trying to order his life to the God that he has come to know through reason, say, well, then this wouldn't be at odds with Jesus' teaching or the teaching of the church. Consider this, Sai. Religion, as St. Thomas Aquinas teaches, generally speaking, denotes man's relation to God as the source of his being and the end of his life. So when human beings attempt to live out that relation to God, they're engaging in religious activity. And that attempt is a means by which one can find God, assuming they're invincibly ignorant of the fullness of the truth that Jesus entrusted to his church. So depending on how we interpret the different paths will determine the answer we give to the question, are all religions different paths to the same God? Now, as to which meaning Pope Francis was latching onto, which of these meanings did Pope Francis intend? Well, on the surface, given his statements, whenever he said every religion is a way to arrive at God, and then there was some back and forth with sort of the translation of that, ending up, as I understand it, all religions are paths to God. On the surface, I can see how some would be led to think he's asserting the first meaning of different paths, like religious indifferentism. I get it. I sympathize with those who might be initially frustrated in thinking, oh my gosh, this is what Pope Francis is saying. Because on the surface, it does seem to say that. But I do have a hard time believing that that's what Pope Francis intended to assert. Because in doing so, he would be denying our Lord himself, which I don't think Pope Francis wants to do, nor does he intend to do. And I don't think he wants to be contradicting the infallible teaching of the church. So I am willing to give Pope Francis here the benefit of the doubt and say that he meant to assert the second meaning that I articulated previously. He just didn't express himself in the most precise way that we would prefer, right? And listen, that happens all the time, right? So I don't know about you, but I know very often
yes.
I will say something, and man, this happens all the time in conversations with my wife, right? when my wife Jacqueline's like, well, and she starts a response to where she thought I meant something else. I'm like, no, I didn't mean that. She said, well, you said this. And I was like, oh, I see how what I said could have been interpreted that way, right?
Yeah.
So the words we choose to use sometimes are a bit ambiguous and make themselves subject to different interpretations. And so we have to clarify and try to specify, well, no, this is the meaning that I was intending to convey. And so I think that's sort of a classic example of what we have going on here with Pope Francis. I think that he's made a statement intending to assert one thing, but on the surface, the very words he used legitimately can be interpreted in another way. But I do not think that Pope Francis is trying to say that all the other religions are just as good as Jesus's way. I do not think he would be intending to say that.
Yeah. I mean, how many times have you finished a show? I know I have a million times and thought, man, I did not phrase that well. I did not say that the way I wanted to say it. What can you do? You just got to go on with life. Hey, thanks for watching. If you like this Catholic Answer, be sure to like, subscribe, and check out our live streams Monday through Friday, 3 to 5 p.m. Pacific, or find the episode after on YouTube, your favorite podcast platform, or our Catholic Answers app.